Hashtag the awakening in the Windy City. When a young quarterback walks into a press conference and starts talking about winning multiple Super Bowls like they are already sitting on his mantle, you usually do one of two things. You either laugh it off as youthful arrogance, or you sit up straight, put your phone down, and pay very close attention. Right now, in the summer of 2026, Caleb Williams is giving every single person in the NFL universe a reason to sit up straight and look at Chicago. What is happening inside Hollis Hall right now is not your typical, slow-rolling rebuilding project. It is not a hollow promise wrapped in media hype, and it is not just raw potential. This is a football program being built from the ground up by a young man who sounds less like a sophomore quarterback and more like a five-time champion who already knows exactly how this story ends. Welcome back to Chicago Bears Voice, your home for everything Chicago football. Today, we are going deep into the most revealing, most honest, and most fired up Caleb Williams press conference we have ever witnessed. This isn't fluff. This is the real thing. Strap yourselves in, because Chicago football just got a whole lot more intense. Let's start at the very beginning, because the opening minutes of this session tell you everything you need to know about his mindset. Caleb walked into the media room, and one of the first topics on the table was his ongoing, very public, and highly entertaining rivalry with Green Bay Packers star Jordan Love. You all remember what Jordan Love said on the NFL Top 100 list. He took a little shot at Caleb, the kind of playful, competitive jab that quarterbacks throw when they know they have to face each other twice a season and neither one has any intention of backing down. Caleb's response was pure gold, cool, calm, collected, and absolutely loaded with underlying meaning. He acknowledged the rivalry, calling it good jokes between football players on opposite sides of the field. He made it clear that nothing was taken to heart. But then, without a single blink, he noted that Jordan Love basically rated himself as fire and rated Caleb as a C. Caleb just smiled and said, "Let's find out which one holds over." When a reporter asked if he would ever vote for Jordan Love as the best player in football, Caleb laughed and said, "Probably not, but that's just on his side of how he does things." He followed that up by calling Love a phenomenal player, someone you have to worry about on every single snap. That right there is the textbook definition of a franchise quarterback's answer. You respect the opponent, you never hand them the crown, and you make it crystal clear that you are coming for absolutely everything they have on Sundays. Jordan Love better be watching his back, and honestly, the entire NFC North needs to be on high alert. But the rivalry talk, as fun as it was just the appetizer. The main course was everything Caleb shared about his personal growth, his evolving mental framework, his tight bond with head coach Ben Johnson, and exactly where this Chicago Bears offense is heading. Let's break this down piece by piece, because every single word out of his mouth is worth dissecting. First, let's talk about the actual progression of the offense. Caleb was asked where this group has made the most meaningful progress over the last couple of months as they head toward training camp. His answer wasn't the typical cliché you hear from most young signal callers. He didn't talk about a shiny new trick play, a dynamic receiver, or a fresh scheme. He talked about continuity. He talked about starting exactly where they ended last year. He specifically mentioned play calls, checks, man checks, alerts, kills, reading defensive structures, and making rapid adjustments right at the line of scrimmage. When you listen to him speak those words, you can instantly feel the massive difference between a rookie quarterback who is just trying to survive and a quarterback who has lived inside this system, wrestled with it, and come out the other side completely fluent in the language. Last year, Caleb openly admitted that he felt like he was drowning. He used those exact words. He was underwater, trying to breathe, just waiting for a lifeboat to come around and save him. That was year one under Coach Ben Johnson. It was a grueling, overwhelming learning curve. But today, he says it is a hell of a lot more fun. They are starting from the ceiling of last year, not the floor. That means the growth curve for this offense is steeper, faster, and incredibly dangerous for every defensive coordinator on the schedule. If you thought the flashes we saw last season were entertaining, you haven't seen anything yet. Speaking of growth, let's focus on the one element that Ben Johnson has been hammering home all spring: ball placement. If you follow this team closely, you know the coaching staff has been intensely, almost obsessively focused on Caleb's precision. They are grading his ball placement every single day, pushing him to put the football in the absolute perfect spot to maximize yards after the catch for his playmakers. Now, a lot of young quarterbacks with Caleb's natural arm talent would get defensive about that kind of micromanagement. They might push back or feel insulted. Not Caleb. He leaned all the way in. He explained that ball placement is supremely important to how they play, how their routes are run, and how their concepts function. He said that because it is vital to Coach Johnson, it is vital to him. Full stop. No ego, no excuses, no deflection. Just a competitor who understands that being elite isn't just about throwing the ball hard, it's about absolute precision. He shared a profound piece of philosophy during that discussion, noting that the more emphasis you put on something and the more conscious you are of it, the more you naturally improve. That is a mature outlook for a 20-something quarterback. He is operating with a mental framework that is years ahead of his actual age. We are hitting our 4th minute into the breakdown, and I want to pause right here and talk to all of you directly. Look around at what we are building here. We are working incredibly hard to hit our next major milestone of 2,000 subscribers on this channel. The team behind Chicago Bears Voice puts an immense amount of hard work, sleepless nights, and pure dedication into producing deep dive documentaries and analytical breakdowns just like this one. We don't just read headlines, we live and breathe Chicago football. Every single subscription we receive acts as direct motivation for us to keep pushing, keep creating, and keep delivering the highest quality content for the best fan base in the world. If you appreciate the depth of this breakdown and you love this team, please take a second right now to hit that subscribe button, smash the like button, share this video with another diehard fan, and leave a comment below telling us your thoughts on Caleb's development. Let's grow this community together. Now, let's get right back into the tape and look at the supporting cast, because Caleb Williams is definitely not doing this alone. He was incredibly vocal about his wide receivers, specifically Luther Burton, Rome Odunze, Leaf, and Zay Jones. The sheer volume of weapons on this offense is genuinely terrifying for opposing secondary units. The way Caleb broke down his relationship with each receiver tells you everything about the kind of leader he is becoming. Take Luther Burton, for example. Caleb didn't mince words. He said he needs Luther to just be Luther, and that he believes in him 100%. He shared a great story from practice about hitting Luther on a beautiful long ball during a drive drill. Luther thought he scored and immediately started celebrating, getting lost in the emotion of the play before the referees even sorted it out. Caleb had to physically walk over, reel his star receiver back in, and redirect all that high-energy focus toward the very next snap. That specific moment, a sophomore quarterback managing the emotional temperature of an elite weapon like Luther Burton during the heat of a practice session, is the exact kind of leadership that separates good players from historic ones. You don't just manage the football in the NFL, you have to manage personalities, you have to manage energy, and you have to manage focus. Caleb is proving he can do all of it simultaneously. Then, he turned his attention to Zayvon, the lightning-fast newcomer who arrived with a reputation as a gadget player and a return specialist rather than a refined, polished route runner. Caleb went completely out of his way to correct that narrative for the media. He told everyone that Zayvon's hands are significantly better than people realize, that he routinely pulls down incredibly tough catches, and that whenever the ball is in his hands, something special happens. But Caleb didn't just praise his talent, he highlighted his character. He recalled a day when Zayvon came off the practice field visibly frustrated with himself after a tough afternoon. Caleb made it a point to pull him aside, put a smile back on his face, and encourage him. Caleb noted that seeing a player care that deeply about a random practice performance is a massive green flag. He said that if Zayvon can fully master the intricacies of this offense, he is going to be a special piece for years to come. Notice that phrasing. Not just this Sunday, or this season, but for years to come. That is a franchise cornerstone looking at the long game. Then he smiled when the topic of Garrett, his veteran center, came up. Caleb lit up instantly, calling him awesome. He pointed out how Garrett has been around various quarterbacks throughout his career, but the moment he arrived in Chicago, he soaked up the playbook like a sponge. Caleb credited Garrett as a massive reason why the first half of OTAs and mandatory minicamp ran so smoothly. Having a veteran center who speaks the exact same pre-snap language, who can communicate protection adjustments on the fly, and who has seen every disguised blitz a defense can throw, that is an invaluable foundation, and Caleb knows exactly how lucky he is to have it. This brings us to the core relationship of the entire organization, the connection between Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson. These two football minds are constructing something beautiful together, and the mutual respect is undeniable. Caleb mentioned that they are reaching a point where they are starting to finish each other's sentences when discussing offensive philosophy. He openly respects the fact that Ben is older, more mature, and brings a wealth of football wisdom that Caleb might not immediately see in the heat of the moment. He stated clearly that he is 100% bought into whatever his head coach says. He then pulled back the curtain on a foundational building block that Ben installed in his mind during their very first meeting. It's the philosophy that championships are built one step at a time. If you want to go 27 for 27 on completions in a game, you can't sit there worrying about number 27. You focus entirely on going 1 for 1. You complete the ball in front of you, you reset, and then you go 1 for 1 again. It is a micro-focus mentality. It's the process-oriented approach that legendary coaches instill in iconic athletes, and Caleb has completely absorbed it into his DNA. But don't mistake that incremental process for a lack of ambition. When asked about his ultimate goal for this unit, Caleb didn't hold back. He stated plainly that he wants the highest scoring offense in the entire National Football League. He wants to elevate his completion percentage, sustain long drives, put maximum points on the board, and keep the turnover rate practically non-existent. He didn't say he wants a good offense or an efficient offense. He wants the absolute best, most explosive unit in the country. That is the public standard he has set, and given his legendary competitive drive, you would be foolish to doubt him. One of the most fascinating moments of the entire press conference came when a reporter asked Caleb if he had ever studied Stoic philosophy, given how popular the subject has become among modern high-profile athletes. Caleb's response was remarkably self-aware. He explained that by nature, he is a pretty even-keeled individual. But this sport brings out an intense passion because it is the thing he cares about most in the world. He acknowledged that there is a time to be fired up and a time to be calm. Then he shared an intimate story from the practice field that completely changed how he carries himself. His teammate Leaf walked up to him on a rough afternoon when Caleb was visibly frustrated and struggling through a difficult session. Leaf looked him dead in the eye and said 4 simple words: "Everybody is looking at you." Caleb admitted that those words struck a nerve. They bothered him. They stayed with him long after he left the facility. From that exact moment on, his mission became clear. He had to be as stoic as humanly possible for his teammates. No erratic highs, no devastating lows. He realized that the emotional temperature of the quarterback dictates the emotional temperature of the entire huddle. To see a young player undergo that kind of profound leadership transformation based on a quick 4-word reality check from a teammate is spectacular. It shows a level of maturity that you rarely find in players this early in their careers. Even when the media tried to bait him into distractions, Caleb remained unbothered. A reporter asked him about the ongoing stadium drama and the wild rumors circulating about the Bears potentially playing games over the state line in Indiana. Caleb shut it down with the ultimate football answer. He said he will play wherever there is a 120 by 53 and a 3rd-yard field with white lines and 2 end zones. Give him green grass, his teammates, his coaching staff, an opponent, and a stadium full of fans, and he will show up ready to work. That is zero distraction. That is a man who has decided at a cellular level that his only job on this earth is to play football and win games. The background noise means absolutely nothing. Chicago, Indiana, or the surface of the moon, Caleb Williams is going to show up and put points on the board. When you step back and look at the entire landscape of this press conference, what does it actually tell us? It tells us that the Chicago Bears finally have a quarterback who has turned the corner. This isn't a project anymore. This isn't a question mark. This is a definitive leader who is actively building a powerhouse alongside his head coach, his weapons, and his own internal discipline. He talks about multiple Lombardi trophies like a concrete project plan, not a distant fantasy. He details pre-snap alerts, ball placement, and micro-focused execution like a master craftsman who has studied the gap between good and legendary and is filling that gap in, brick by single brick, every single day. He is managing star personalities in practice, leaning on the wisdom of his veteran center, and anchoring his emotions because he knows his team feeds off his stability. He is transforming into the exact savior this city has spent generations praying for. And the scariest part for the rest of the league? He told us himself that he feels there is still so much left to unlock, so much left to learn, and so much football ahead of him. If this is what Caleb Williams looks like at the start of year 2, with total command of the playbook, absolute chemistry with Ben Johnson, and a dangerous array of targets, then the rest of the NFL needs to start bracing for impact. The Jordan Loves of the world can keep throwing their playful jabs in the offseason. Caleb is fully prepared to deliver his answers on Sundays, and if those answers add up the way he intends, the city of Chicago is going to be throwing a parade that has been decades in the making. As we hit the final minute of today's documentary, I want to emphasize why we do this. This is exactly why Chicago Bears Voice exists, to bring you every single layer of this beautiful historic journey, from the grand ultimate dreams of Super Bowl titles down to the quiet four-word conversations on the practice field that reshape the culture of our franchise. This is Chicago football in 2026, and it is the greatest show on earth. We put everything we have into these videos because you deserve the absolute best coverage. If you are just as deeply invested in Caleb Williams and the future of this team as we are, show us some love. Hit that subscribe button right now, turn on all notifications so you never miss a single breakdown, and drop a comment below letting us know what part of Caleb's mindset fired you up the most. Was it the absolute dismissal of the Packers, the relentless focus on ball precision, or his stoic approach to leadership? Thank you for the incredible support, motivation, and dedication to growing this community. The season is right around the corner, and we are going to experience every single heartbeat of it together. Bear down, Chicago. Let's get it.